Man, we are so back. What's up, everybody? Well, God bless you. I hope you're having a great week. And I certainly had an interesting week one. And you know what time it is. It's time to get into the power rankings. Here we go. Post week one power rankings. Let's get right into it. Starting with the LA Rams. I think this team is like a somewhere between borderline elite to good but not great team. I'm going to put them in good but not great because their week kind of went as expected. Like they beat the Texans, and the Texans are a pretty good team. Right now, I feel pretty confident putting them in like the top half of good but not great. The Bengals, I'm gonna have to put them in good but not great because yes, they beat the Browns, but it was like this close. And usually, I think people should be able to beat the Browns better than they were doing this past week. Seattle Seahawks, good but not great. I'm not quite ready to drop this team out of like the good but not great tier yet, but this is not that wasn't a great start against the 49ers. Let's just put it that way. They lost to San Francisco, which kind of sucks, and they're going to have to prove that they're still in the conversation of like playoff contender. Atlanta Falcons. Now, this is a difficult one because Atlanta actually played really well in their loss to Tampa Bay. Michael Penix looked really good in that game. So I'm actually going to put them in the good but not great tier. I might have actually done that last week, but that's kind of besides the point. I think they have a lot of upside, and I think that is a really good thing. New York Giants tanking. And I think this is a pretty safe bet too for the most part. Like the Giants are not a good team, and I think we all know that to some degree. Like they're kind of just a team that you expect to be bad. And they kind of showed that. Like they didn't really put up that much fight against the Commanders last week. The New York Jets, they're actually a good but not great team this time. I have them rising a lot because Justin Fields looked really good against the Steelers on Sunday. And I think that is something that Jets fans should take away here is that they looked really good. Yes, they lost, but they looked phenomenal. And I think they've got their QB, and I think there's a lot of upside to this team if they can continue to develop, continue to get better. I like where this team is going. The New Orleans Saints, yeah, they're tanking. I mean, we kind of expected that they would be tanking, and I think they played better than I expected them to play against Arizona, but it really wasn't by that much. And I will just say it's going to be a long season for New Orleans. If they can be competitive in most of their games, I think that the Saints organization and their fans will be satisfied. The Baltimore Ravens, oh boy. I'm going to have to put them in borderline elite because man, Ravens, you literally choked a 15-point lead with 5 minutes to go. How do you do that? Like, that's insane. Like, that's almost as bad as getting blown out by a division rival in their stadium. Like, it's so bad. The Las Vegas Raiders. I think the Las Vegas Raiders actually played pretty well. I think they're not quite as good as actually. I think they're a little better than the Jets and maybe the Falcons as well. But I think that the Raiders are a pretty good team, and that is because they have a lot of skill set players. Particularly Brock Bowers played really well on Sunday. I have in fantasy, so I would know. And they just look like a team that could be a sneaky contender. Cleveland Browns, yeah, they're tanking. I just think that the Browns, even though they had a good outing against the Bengals on Sunday, they just are not a good team yet. They need to do a little more to prove that they can withstand and play good with better teams like Cincinnati. Like they almost beat Cincinnati, but they still didn't. And this is still a really talentless team apart from like Miles Garrett. Miami Dolphins, yeah, they're tanking. I think they're a little better than the Giants and Saints, but that's really not saying that much. Heck, they're probably a little better than the Browns, but I'm really saying this right now. This is not a good football team. Like, they got absolutely demolished by a kind of mediocre Indianapolis Colts team on paper. Like, on paper, this is not a talented Colts team and they just got absolutely demolished. There was nothing good for the Dolphins, kind of like the Lions, and we'll get to them later. But I don't think there's a lot of things that are positive to be found for this team right now. New England Patriots. I'm going to put them in bad. I mean, they lost to the Raiders, but they looked all right, and I think that's enough for them. They don't look like they're a bottom of the barrel team or anything, and I think they'll accept that. Kansas City Chiefs, borderline elite. I'm putting them a little below the Ravens because the Ravens were like slightly more competitive than the Chiefs were. And the Chiefs are still a good team, but they got lit up by Justin Herbert and Quentin Johnston. And let's just say Quentin Johnston is not a proven superstar. They've got a lot of stuff they need to figure out, particularly on defense. Washington Commanders, borderline elite. They went in and took care of business against probably the worst team in football right now. And I'm pretty sure that the Commanders will be more than happy with that result. The Carolina Panthers. I'm gonna drop them a little bit. I mean, I had them in good but not great, and I'm dropping them to mid because actually I'm gonna drop them to bad because they really didn't put up a good fight against a pretty bad Jaguars team. And the Jaguars just looked like they were the better team, even with the delay. Green Bay Packers, top five. And I hate this because, as most of you know, I despise the Green Bay Packers with a passion. And I think the Packers just looked like the better team on Sunday in every single facet. They look like the best team in this division, especially even after Monday. They still look like far and away the best team in this division. Philadelphia Eagles top five. They're a little better. They're definitely better than Green Bay. And the Eagles basically came out and opened the season by saying, yeah, we're still a good team. We're still going to win games. And they just basically took care of the Dallas Cowboys, even with Jalen Carter doing some really weird stuff. And I think it's just a testament to how well coached this team is. The Denver Broncos. I'm going to put this team in good but not great, and I think they're a little better than the Jets, but not quite as good as the Falcons. And I think the Broncos had a pretty good game against a kind of like bad to mediocre Titans team. Like, they got after Cam Ward all day, which I have to respect them for that. And they just look like they're going to have a really scary defense this season. The Chicago Bears, mid. They had that game against Minnesota and they just choked it. Kind of like the Ravens, but they're not as good as the Ravens, if you know what I mean. Like, they're just not a great team. And I know some people are already calling for Caleb Williams to get out of town already, but I think it's still too early. He's only one game into his second season. Let's just let it be for a minute. I thought there were some places where Caleb Williams looked good. So let's just see what Caleb Williams has got if he can continue to develop. The Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to put them in mid for now because they did win, but it was against a pretty bad Saints team that has Spencer Rattler as their quarterback. Granted, Spencer Rattler wasn't horrible by any means, but he's still not a great quarterback. And Kyler Murray is definitely a better quarterback than he is, and I think Kyler Murray looked a lot better in this game than he has the last couple of seasons. But I think there's still a lot of room to grow. Marvin Harrison Jr. looked better. Kyler Murray's looking better too, and I think those are good things for this team. Indianapolis Colts. Man, you guys are on the rise. I mean, I think teams might be overhyping the Colts just a little bit, but still, the fact that Daniel Jones, after one game, is already in the MVP conversation is absolutely outrageous. It is just that insane how badly they beat Miami. Miami went from like a mediocre team to like, okay, they look like they're tanking now because they lost to Daniel Jones and the Colts. And the Colts just everything clicked for them on Sunday. Daniel Jones, as we've already said, looked amazing. Their defense absolutely stopped Tua in every single facet, and there was just nothing the Dolphins could do to stop Indianapolis on either side of the ball, really. And the Colts, they are the hottest team right now coming off of week one. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they're also a pretty hot team right now. I will say that. I think they also significantly went on the rise as of this week. Like they went from like a mid team to a pretty good team in the course of a week. And that has to be that has to be really nice for the Pittsburgh Steelers because Aaron Rodgers looked like he beat Father Time somehow some way. And it looks like they have their quarterback for at least this season. Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to put them in the mid tier for now because although they beat Carolina, that doesn't really say a lot because let's be honest, Carolina's not a good football team. So we're going to have to cool the brakes on anything related to Jacksonville until they actually beat a real team. And they've got a real team this week, so we'll see how that goes. The Houston Texans, they're going to take a bit of a hit for sure. Like, They lost to the Rams, so we're gonna have to put them around where the Rams are. For the Texans, it's not the end of the world, but they really didn't have that much offense in the really low scoring loss to the Rams. So going forward, they might want to get their offense going just a little bit more. I mean, I didn't watch the game, but from the score, it didn't look like the Texans moved the ball efficiently. So I think for them, that would be a big thing going forward is they need to get their offense going more. Tennessee Titans. We're going to put them in the bad tier. I think they're maybe a little above Carolina. But this is still not a great team. They lost to Denver, and that was definitely a winnable game. And I think one of the things is they really could have gotten some better protection for Cam Ward. And I know a lot of people are blaming Cam Ward, even though it's not his fault. And I think for Cam Ward, if they can get some better protection and give Cam Ward more time to throw the ball, that would be amazing for them. Buffalo Bills top five. The Bills are beyond lucky for what happened on Sunday night. Like, I don't think anything this season will ever top that. I'm probably going to regret that in a couple weeks. But this was one of the most insane comebacks I've seen in several years. And I think the reason for that is they came back from down 15 in 5 minutes. Like, this team knows how to get it done. They just need to beat the Chiefs in the postseason, and then we'll all believe them. Minnesota Vikings, good but not great for sure. I think this team has a lot of potential, and I think they definitely showcased that in their comeback win against Chicago. But I'm not quite ready to put this team as a contender yet. I think they're right about the good but not great tier. And I think they've got a lot of upside, though. McCarthy looked really good in their second half comeback. And I think that is enough for this Vikings team. If they can determine whether or not McCarthy is their guy this season, then they will be okay with this season. San Francisco 49ers, good but not great. The 49ers looked pretty good in their win over Seattle. Me and my friend were watching the game, and we will say, I think this 49ers team definitely looks better than it has in years past. And I had them winning this division in my record predictions because they have a really easy schedule. And I think this team can definitely take advantage of that easy schedule. And I think they just need to continue to get a little bit better, and they could actually be a legitimate playoff contender. Dallas Cowboys, mid. But I think they're at the top of this mid category. And I don't think it's by that much, but this is still a somewhat solid Dallas Cowboys team. And I was surprised by that, but they were at least somewhat competitive with Philadelphia on Thursday. And that is the reason why I don't think they're a bad team this week. And it's simply, I think they made a dumb decision by trading Micah Parsons because they could have really used Micah Parsons this season and in this last game, for example. And I just think it was a dumb decision for them to trade him. So they have to stay at the mid category. Heck, they could be dropping real soon. Finally, our last good but not great team. It is the Los Angeles Chargers. But this team's actually at the top of the good but not great tier, which is a little bit surprising to me. But oh well, I guess, life is life. But the Chargers did really well because they upset Kansas City on Friday. And I think everybody was happy about that. So I think if they can keep that momentum going and possibly turn this into more wins, then this could actually be a close to Super Bowl contender. As long as they don't, charger it or anything like that. Oh, that would be bad. Detroit Lions, borderline elite. Come on, get in that tier. I think for this team, there's so many things that I'm frustrated about. Like, we could have been so much better in that game. There's so many places where we could have even come back and won the game, but we had so many missed opportunities. We lost to a team that was more prepared and just overall better than we were. So we've got a lot to work on. Particularly, we need to get more aggressive on offense, and we need to actually stop the pass. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, borderline elite. And I think this is our last team. They're better than Detroit. Come on, move over. They're better than Washington, but I don't think they're as good as KC yet. Tampa Bay somehow beat the Falcons, and I don't know how they did it, but they beat them. And that game should not have been as close as it was, but the Falcons still choked it away. So that's good for Tampa Bay. This is still Tampa Bay's division to lose, and it doesn't look like it's going to be that difficult for them to repeat. it looks like the Falcons will be literally their only competition in this whole division. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our power rankings. And if you really want to know the numbers, let's get right into that. Number 32, New York Giants. Number 31, New Orleans Saints. Number 30, Cleveland Browns. Number 29, Miami Dolphins. Number 28, Carolina Panthers. 27, Tennessee Titans. 26, New England Patriots. 25, Jacksonville Jaguars. 24, Chicago Bears. 23, Arizona Cardinals. 22, Dallas Cowboys. 21, New York Jets. 20, Denver Broncos. 19, Pittsburgh Steelers. 18, Minnesota Vikings. 17, Atlanta Falcons. 16, Las Vegas Raiders. 15, Seattle Seahawks. 14, San Francisco 49ers. 13, Indianapolis Colts. 12, Houston Texans. 11, Cincinnati Bengals. 10, Los Angeles Rams. 9, Los Angeles Chargers. 8, Washington Commanders. 7, Detroit Lions. 6, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 5, Kansas City Chiefs. 4, Baltimore Ravens. 3, Green Bay Packers. 2, Buffalo Bills. 1, Philadelphia Eagles. But thank you for watching. God bless. And with that,
Peace!